Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads. And a big shout out to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio out of New York. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Holiday Traditions. Ooh. Today we'll be exploring Christmas. And joining me, as always, is the beautiful and talented, lovely Daphne Diluce. Hi, Daphne. How are you?
Hi. Well, hello, everybody. Hello from the UK, wherever you are at this time, approaching Christmas.
It's coming quickly. We're already seeing commercials on television, and here in the States we didn't even get to Thanksgiving yet, which we had a great show about that last week. But it's Christmas everywhere. I went to a shopping center and they already have trees that you can buy for sale. So
Exactly.
rush.
Well, here in the UK, it's Christmas all over. All the shops have Christmas stuff. The Christmas food is on the shelf. The trees are ready to buy. The lights are starting to get switched on. So I guess it's time.
So you're even ahead of us. That's interesting. We've got a great guest with us, Roland, who is an expert in a lot of areas, especially the holidays. So he's going to share more with us. Before we bring him out, Daphne, I'd love for you to share a little bit with our audience about the work that you do at Roar Media Creative and Brand Clever.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Well, I'm a founder of Raw Media Creative, and I have a methodology called Brand Clever. I'm a brand expert and a creative, and somebody who can't do their hair. Anyway, and what I do is Raw Media Creative. I'm COO and also co-founder. So it's creative everything, creative branding, creative film, creative advertising, publishing, everything that you need 360 degrees to get out to the world. And that's what I do.
And you do it so well. Look at the beautiful graphics we have here today. I'm just really loving getting into the Christmas holiday spirits.
Oh, glad you like it.
Daphne, let's bring out our guest. Roland.friedl is also a co-host on the Mallorca Connection, which is our show that we have tomorrow. And he is our in-house resident holiday traditions expert. So welcome to the program, Roland, joining us from Mallorca. How are you?
Hello, Jacalyn. Hello, Daphne. Nice to see you. I'm fine.
Hi.
Thank you.
Lovely that you're here again. Time to dig into your brain and find out all that historic information. I don't know where you find it from, but every week it's fascinating.
Yeah, I love this because I think I'm not an expert. I don't have a degree in holidays, but it's a funny story. When I was much younger, after university, I joined a corporation, and after a while, I said, no, I want to do my own stuff. And one of the reasons was because in my home country, I'm originally from Austria, you only have 5 weeks of vacation, 5 weeks of holiday. And I said, how can somebody stand 5 weeks of holiday? That's not enough. So I'm starting my own enterprise, and I can go on vacation whenever I want because I love vacations, I love holidays. and after a while, I love to find the history and the traditions behind it. What's the meaning of it? That's very interesting for me.
That is fascinating. And, Roland, here in the States, people would be like, 5 weeks vacation, what? Because we're so used to, no, we're not going to go on vacation. We'll just keep working. And I think with the pandemic, there's a shift now. People realize how important it is to take that time for self-care and to be with family. So yay to the holidays and to time off. I love it. We don't know about it, Daphne, do we? We don't know about the time off, but...
Not quite sure what that is. I have to look it up in the dictionary.
Well, before we dive right into Christmas, Roland, I'm going to spotlight you. If you could share with our audience about the wonderful work that you're doing and the value that you bring to the world.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Spartner Performance Systems. And we are the ultimate leadership development organizational learning experience company, meaning that we support organizations and their leaders to improve their processes, to improve their conversations, everything that needs to be improved in a company to be fit for the next years, to be fit for the market, for the competitors. That's what we're doing. And I'm very mission driven because I strongly believe that life is to be fulfilled. And also work is a huge part of our life. So the work that we do as leaders working in a corporation also has to fulfill us. So when we come home after work, fulfilled, happy, energized, that we still have time for our friends, our beloved ones who wait at home when we're coming back. So I love to support people to have a fulfilled life, to do a good job, but also to be energized and enjoying life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Let's start talking about Christmas. So it occurs on the 25th of December every year. There's a lot of religious significance, and there's a lot of fun as well, and a lot of stress, I should add, gift giving and getting together with families. So I'm going to start off with you, Roland. What does Christmas mean to you?
Oh, for me personally?
Yes.
Well, for me personally, right now, as I'm getting older and a little bit more mature and having a little bit more distance from my childhood, it's about contemplation, to have time to think about, to reflect, having time with the people I love. So it's less about decorating. It's less about shopping. It's less about receiving gifts. It's more about having time for the people for the persons around me who are important for me. It's time for contemplation for myself, because the end of the year is coming soon, and a new year starting, meaning a new year, new chance. So it's a good time to reflect. But when I think back as a child, it was a little bit bigger. I was excited about Christmas, but at the other time, as you mentioned it before, it was a very stressful time for my parents. So there was a lot of, the expectations have been very high. My parents have been hardworking people. So on especially on vacations, on holidays, and for Christmas, for the most, there was a lot of pressure on them. And so there was a lot of arguing, a lot of stress. And actually, as a child, I didn't really enjoy it. So not really, because it was a stressful time and you could feel this kind of energy, and most of negative energy. So it was a little bit busy. I loved it. I was excited about it as a small kid. But on the other side, I was a little bit afraid, a little bit stressed what's going to happen at Christmas. And I noticed from many other people and many other friends, they had the same experience, unfortunately. But it's at the end, I have good memories.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's really authentic. I love that. We also have a comment from a new viewer, Nathi Zlamini. I hope I said that right. Very interesting. Thank you so much for watching and engaging. We appreciate it. Daphne, what about you? What does Christmas mean to you in your world, in your life?
Well, Christmas is in 3 sections in my mind. So the first section will be the childhood Christmas. The middle section will be Christmas as a mother with children herself. And then the third Christmas is more of a spiritual thing. Yes, so I'll unpack them really quickly. When I was a child, there was no days off. It was hard work. And my mum had 2 businesses. And one of them, my parents had an import-export business for food. So in the little, come from the country, that's where everybody used to get their fruit and vegetables and everything that they needed to eat. Anyway, so Christmas time, my mother turned one of the big storage units into a Christmas grotto. She had a lot of brothers, so they used to be Father Christmas. I used to get dressed up. I had to get dressed up as an elf. I hated it. And we also were the main suppliers of Christmas trees. So my childhood memories are either being out in the freezing cold selling Christmas trees and getting, pricked and like really sore, or being dressed up as an elf, feeling like a fool, with so much Christmas music in my head that I used to go cross-eyed. But they were wonderful days because we used to have like queues of kids with their parents queuing up to come to the grotto. So, I learned at a very age to be of service and to be kind. And I always wanted to help my mum, which I did a lot. And then the Christmas tree thing, that was great because the smell of Christmas trees always make me happy. So then moving on to then being a mother and having these little children, I just adored decorating everything I could and making Christmases as magical as I could. And I love to cook, and my family love to eat the food I make. So I completely would immerse myself in the whole thing. Now that they're all grown up and some of them have kids themselves, that my Christmas is now very different. So it's more about getting ready for the new year, and actually just making sure the whole family is happy in the best ways that I can. And then by that time, I'm usually cannot wait for Christmas to go over, because one thing about Christmas, it brings up a lot of grief. So all these lovely aunties and uncles and the mum I had are all dead. So I feel really miserable at Christmas sometimes, which I think a lot of people do because they miss their loved ones. So that is my 3-part series of Daphne's Christmas.
Thank you also, Daphne, to you for being so authentic and genuine. That was truly beautiful. We have a follow-up comment from Nathy, because as you grow older, the perception differs as well. Yes, very well stated. And from my points, I don't have any children and I'm not married. So I've spent many of the Christmases in my life with my parents. And of course, my dad's not here anymore. And so I spend it with my mother. And it really sometimes I spend it with my sister and her family, but it's really gone from being very focused on presents and food, eating and getting together. To me, it's much more a look inside and, a gratitude and yet some inquisitiveness about this amazing planet, about how we got here, about what we're doing to keep it going for other generations, and just how it all started and what role can I play to help others. So I have to say there were years when I was very materialistic. It was all about the greatest shoes and the greatest bags and, how many presents did I get? And as I've gotten older, that doesn't have any meaning anymore.
Oh, that's wonderful. The thing is, I think it's very interesting how Christmas has become such a mix of so many things. So I'm going to roll the first question out to Roland and say, how would you, if somebody had never heard of Christmas, how would you describe Christmas to them?
Oh, that's an interesting question. How to describe Christmas to them? Well, I would say it's a huge family festival where everybody's very, very excited, especially the small kids, because depending on the tradition, Santa Claus is coming, or the Christ child is coming, or whoever they called it, because there are different traditions in different countries, how the kids get their presents. How to describe them? That's a good question. I would say a festival, a family festival, full with energy, full with good smellings. I just came to my mind when I was a kid, the smelling of the tree, the smelling of the candles, the smelling of the pastries, the smelling of the wine we had. How do you describe it? I guess it's the most desired festival of any kid I get. I guess it's more, when I speak for myself, it was more important than my birthday or something like that, because the birthday was about me, but Christmas was about something else, much something more important than myself. A difficult question. It's because Christmas has so many components about, as you mentioned before, the food, the family coming together, the tree, the singing special Christmas songs, and I guess it's the same. I guess people have to really experience it. It seemed like when somebody never ever had a vanilla ice cream and said, "Okay, describe how it tastes." I said, "You have to try it," and I guess you have to participate on a Christmas party, on a Christmas festival with a family. I guess the best thing is to describe it. you have to make it your own experience, because everyone has his own traditions, his own food, his own stuff. I guess it's difficult to describe for me.
That's a fair enough answer. What about you, Dr. Jacalyn? How would you describe Christmas?
Well, I think it also depends on how religious you are, or if you look at it from let's say the actual meaning of Christmas, Jesus Christ passing away, dying, and what that means, and then Santa Claus and that whole thing in the North Pole. So I think it depends what perspective that you look at it. So for some people, it's a very religious holiday. It's probably next to Easter, the most religious holiday of the year, where people who don't typically go to church are going to church because they want to give thanks and give acknowledgement. And for other people, it's, Santa Claus is coming and let's get the cookies out for Santa, and he's coming down that fireplace, the chimney. And so I think it depends on the perspective, or maybe they can both be combined. What are your thoughts, Daphne?
Well, my thoughts are this, because in my family, I've always had very inquisitive children, so I've had to come up with the answers quick. So this is what I know about Christmas. Christmas is a celebration of duality, as I would say. There's a celebration of Jesus Christ being born. But the thing is, if you really do a lot of digging around, the likelihood of Jesus Christ being born at Christmas is very unlikely. He probably was born in the spring. But the church actually decided to have Christmas on the 25th of December, because that was a time when all the pagans were actually doing their thing, which was quite wild at times, whether they were from the north or whether they were the Romans. So then Christmas was born. And then the thing is, then if you go back to Christmas, where did this materialistic Christmas come from? America had a lot to do with it, because at the time, there was Charles Dickens wrote a story all about Christmas. And then as people started to, listen to the story, they thought that was that's what Christmas was about. And then a guy wrote a poem about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So then people started to putting all together. So, and there's much more, which I know that Roland can unpack as well. We can unpack it a bit together. But I would just say to people, it's a celebration of spirituality, myth, legend, all coming together. And history, all sorts of things that people have had over the ages to celebrate the light and actually rebirth. Well, actually coming out of the light, coming out of the dark, going into the light, and surviving the cold, dark times. So that would be my answer.
I think that's a great answer. And by the way, we have a comment from Simon McDonald from the United Kitchens, our show on Friday. Love the set. We can thank Daphne Diluce for that. Daphne, I think that was a great explanation about how they come together. And I didn't know that about you said someone wrote the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Can you share more about that?
I've got the name somewhere. After the break, I'll get it because I wrote it down on a piece of paper. But yeah, there was a guy who actually wrote a poem. And then around about the same time, it was around about the 1840s. And then the UK started Christmas cards. And then somebody in the UK started to send Christmas cards to their families in America, and then America copied. And that's where Christmas cards came from. The Germans contributed the Christmas trees because the Germans used to decorate the Christmas trees with apples, and then that turned into ornaments. So you see, you've got this kind of merging of all the things from the past. And the church at the time just was really happy for people to be acknowledging, the three kings coming to Bethlehem, the star, Jesus's birth. So they didn't want to stop pagan traditions because they wanted the celebration of Jesus's birthday. So, you know, it's a mashup, as we'd say today. Stealing from or taking from everything. But the wonderful thing that Roland said, it's this wonderful time of the most magical celebration, the favorite celebration and tradition where families are coming together, people are contemplating, they're giving presents, they're sharing food, and it is just, personally, to me, Christmas feels like a huge celebration of life, celebrating the year, celebrating Jesus, celebrating all the ancestors, whether they brought us trees or apples or what they did. And it's a big celebration of light. That's what I think.
One of my favorite traditions, which I won't be doing this year, but it's putting up the tree. And it's evolved over the years where I used to have a real tree because I love that smell, Roland, like what you had mentioned. There's nothing better than that. But then the pine needles fall all over and the vacuum cleaner gets backed up. So now I have an artificial tree, which is white, but I love to put it up early and then I'll keep it up, maybe till the end of January. And I love decorating it in my own unique way. So that's one of the things that I really like. What about your tree? Either one of you, do you put a tree up? And if so, how do you decorate it? Well, Daphne? Oh.
Okay, yeah, tree. Yeah, well, of course, I'd like to have a real tree. And then what I try to do every year is have a real tree with roots to keep it alive, but it never lives. But I do try, right? A friend of nature and all that. But I love my tradition of trees that I like to have a different color decorations every year, So I very much, I suppose it's being a designer, isn't it? I like to kind of have it themed or, like make everything white and silver or gold or red. Or last year it was pink. Oh, last year we had pink and I had these lovely pink masks with feathers. They were absolutely beautiful. This year, I've got no idea what it will be. But also, one of my traditions at Christmas is fresh flowers. I always go to the flower market about five days before Christmas Eve, and I will buy boxes of fresh flowers and fill up every vase I have. And then in between the flowers, put the baubles and things like that. So I think my house looks more like a florist shop.
Oh, that's beautiful. You'll have to take pictures and share them with us.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Roland?
Well, I love Christmas trees and the natural ones, not the artificial ones, because I love natural flowers or natural plants, not the artificial ones. But I understand that in some cultures or in some religion, it's difficult to get a real ones. I live here now on the island on Mallorca in Spain. It's very difficult to get a real tree. And when you get one, they're very expensive. But I love the real ones because I love the smelling, first of all, and it's a good memory of my childhood. And right now, I don't have a Christmas tree at all because, my kids are also grown. They live far away in another country, also my grandkid. So I don't do this anymore, just for myself. But I loved it. And I remember when I was married my first time with my kids, I really missed the Christmas tree. And what I mean is buying them and decorating them, because we spent every Christmas we spent in the house of my parents in-law. So that was convenient because I didn't have to buy anything, no food, no Christmas tree, no decoration, but I missed it to do myself. And I remember in my second marriage, the first thing I was looking real forward was on Christmas, going to the market, buy a Christmas tree, bring it home, a huge one, a heavy one, to be a real man, bring it home. and my second wife, she decorated it, and in the meantime, I met friends to have some drinks or something like that. So I really love real trees. I love the smelling. When we talk about decorating, I love the simple ones. So in my home country, in Austria, some are really very colorful, not so heavy like in the US. There are a lot of light stuff like that. We have it more natural with real candles, so no electricity candles, the real candles, and small red apples. I love the green with the red. So and straw. We used straw figures that are golden. So we had mostly three colors: the green of the tree, the red of the apples, and the golden of the straw figure. So really, simple ones. Yeah. But as a kid, I remember I loved the sweets, the chocolate and the sweet stuff from the Christmas tree. Not all, but most of them. And I remember this very, very good. But I love Christmas trees. Absolutely, yeah. But now in Spain, I don't have one.
Thank you, Roland. I think it's so interesting how the three of us have different perspectives on trees, even because Daphne, you like a real tree and you're decorating it with your flair. And Roland, you like a real tree and you like to have it more basic. And I think because I've lived in a high rise for a lot of my adult life, that part of the reason why I stopped getting real trees was because for a single woman to get the tree in the car, get it in the elevator, get it, it's a lot of work. So when you have the artificial tree, to just take it out of the closet. But my tree is white, as I mentioned, and I decorate it with red feather boas. And I have these Barbie dolls that are collectibles that one's wearing Dior, the other one's wearing Chanel, one's wearing Ralph Lauren, and I have the Barbies on different places of the tree. So it's a very unusual tree. I have little handbags, that actual handbags that are on the tree. So I guess I'm a little crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you're crazy. I think that's the thing. It's one thing about Christmas. It's about self-expression as well. Because before Christ was born, and when all the pagans were celebrating Christmas, they used to switch roles. So they used to knock on the rich people's houses or their employers, and they would the rich people would have to give them the best of everything. And then they would, the leader would be like a fool, and kind of, there used to be absolute craziness as everybody was self-expression, doing what they want, eating and eating. And there was a lot of meat around in some of the dark days, because when people used to kill their animals because they didn't want to feed them over the winter, be too expensive, or they didn't have the food. So they went absolutely nuts. So that was full of expression. So why not? If you like and I think that Christmas tree is probably a collector's piece. It's probably very valuable with all those things, all those collectible pieces.
There are, and you and I had talked about this, Daphne, because I'm getting ready to move somewhere else for the next month or so, and I was going to take all of my stuff with me, but it's just too much work. I'm actually sad because every one of those things has a meaning. Every decoration that goes on the tree has some special meaning to me. So, all right, but we are going to actually take a break, and we are going to hear from one of our guests. She has performed a beautiful Christmas carol that we're going to listen to. It's Frederica Crum from the UK. She's a mezzo soprano, and we're going to watch her Christmas concert. We'll be right back.
Maria,
and welcome back to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. Our show is Holiday Traditions, and with me to discuss, Daphne, Diluce, and Roland.friedl. So in our first segment, we were talking about Christmas and the fact that Christmas can have many different meanings to people across the world. So there's the religious component, there's the family component, there's the holiday traditions, and I think there's also, as we mentioned, a lot of stress, a lot of energy leading up to it. And then Christmas Day is over and we're one day closer to the end of the year. And I think then people start doing a lot of soul searching about what they learned from this year, and then they take it into the next year. So Daphne, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, deep thoughts as always. But before I answer your question, I'd just like to tell you that Kevin Clark Moore was the author who created Father Christmas in a Story. So this guy wrote all about Father Christmas, and then there was a story of this magical story that everybody started to believe in New York. Then there's a guy who comes up with a poem about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Then Charles Dickens writes this huge story, and there's a film made about Christmas. And then everybody is actually being hypnotized into this materialistic, magical Christmas, which I don't think that's bad, really. But this is where melancholy can actually come in, because when people don't have the magic anymore, or they perceive that the magic is being switched off, they can get really sad. But magic can be different for different people. Like I know I get sad, not because of materialistic things, because I really miss my family. And I still don't understand how I could have this huge family and then suddenly they're all dead. It's like weird. So those are the things that make me sad. But then I put a big mask on and my family and friends wouldn't even know I'm sad. So I do my reflections in private. But I think there's a lot of people that actually get very triggered at that time because they missed somebody, or they perhaps didn't reach a certain thing in life that they wanted, or perhaps they didn't get a present. And I think these presents are really interesting, and I'd love to know your thoughts on presents as well. Like for me, I think if people haven't got the resources to go to the shops to buy a present, I think there's a lot of things that people could do. They could write like an amazing friendship letter or a love letter, or they could bake a cake, or they could go and make some flower bunch from the nature, or they could, these acts of kindness that fills people's hearts up. But I think, Christmas is loaded, and then of course with emotional triggers, and then of course people have to, well, they don't have to, but they do feel obliged that they have an obligation to so much, and then they're perhaps sitting with people that they don't want to sit, or they're going to people's houses and they don't want to do that, or even their traditions get overridden by the children because they want to do it, and then what you used to do has gone out the window. So it starts. So these, as I think the older people get, I think this melting pot of pressure actually grows. So I do think we need a cure for this. I'm not quite sure what it is. So that's my thoughts, Dr. Jacalyn. Roland, what do you guys think?
Well, I'll just jump in quickly and say that I think you're right. I think that it is a trigger. There are many triggers for people around the holidays. I know personally, I spent several Christmases by myself, not that long ago even. And you have to find ways to, instead of saying, oh, boo-hoo, woe is me, what I would do is, and I've been trying to do this every Christmas, is go to a yoga class and start my day off that way by looking inside and kind of freeing myself of any toxins or any negativity that I have. But not everybody can do that. So it's also a great idea, I think, to volunteer if you can. I know some people who deliver meals to people for the holidays. One of our friends, Diane Floyd Beam, she does that. Roland, how about over to you? What are your thoughts?
Well, as I mentioned before, Christmas is a very, very important festival, and we see it also from research that people that feel lonely at Christmas, or the people that are alone, feel very, very alone at Christmas, and suicide rate going up. So it's a very important festival, especially for the kids for sure, and for me it's also okay that there are gifts for kids and presents because that's what they want, and that's very excited about it, and it's very nice to see this eyes, when the bell is ringing and they run into the living room and the candles burn on the tree, and maybe there's Christmas songs and the good smelling and a lot of nice decorated and bagged presents. When you see this faces of the kids, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's all worth, I guess, all the preparation is all worth of that. But when you're growing older and like myself and the kids are out of the house, presents are less important. But what I mentioned out is it's very important to be not alone for Christmas, for many people. So I really encourage people that have a nice house, and when you know somebody in your neighborhood that is alone and doesn't know how to handle this aloneness, as you mentioned, Jacalyn, you said, okay, you can do a yoga class, so this is a very good thing. Or some people need really this time for contemplation and meditation, but most people don't have any practice in this and not experience it. So they feel really, really lonely. So I encourage everyone who has the chance to invite someone in the neighborhood, maybe for a Christmas dinner or a Christmas coffee break or a Christmas lunch, and share the time with these people, because people on Christmas who live alone feel very lonely. And I remember when my kids were raised up and I was alone, I always brought my mom from Austria to the island of Mallorca for 1 month and spent the time with her on Christmas. And I knew that she really enjoyed, because she was always alone, my mom, just with her cat. So I guess that's very important. But I want to mention one thing about loneliness. Because, we as Europeans, we all think, the Americans, they're so crazy. They decorate everything like crazy with electricity and a lot of lamps and colors. And what I love so much in the US is when I'm driving the car and seeing all these decorated houses with thousands and thousands of lights and different figures. And it's just crazy what some people are really doing on that. And I remember when I was in my 20s and the 30s in Austria and starting my career and my own business, and then I was traveling a lot of time in my car, miles and miles of kilometers, lonely days and lonely nights and dark nights, especially in winter, when the sun goes down very early. And I remember before Christmas when I was passing by some houses that has this decoration. You see a decorated tree outside, or a figure with candles. You see a Santa Claus or an angel, whatever. I always felt so happy and so grateful for this, because I felt like coming home. I feel that I'm not alone. I feel this warmness and this stuff. So I really encourage all people, decorate your house also outside, because you never know who is passing by lonely, walking or driving a car, and feels happy and warm and welcome when you see it.
That's a wonderful suggestion, Roland. Thank you. Because that does make a difference. You can really change someone's outlook by just letting them know that you're there and that you care and that they're not alone.
Absolutely.
I have to say that I've also had loneliness and been alone on some Christmases for all sorts of reasons. And one particular Christmas that I was alone, I just felt it was like if an icy cloud had entered my home. And then I just thought, I don't like this. So I went nuts in a lovely way. I love to dance and I love to sing. So I put all the music on, but I put all the carols. So I started with the carols and I wore them out and I sang and I sang. And growing up in the country, we always had to go to the little churches. So you'd have to go to the midnight church ceremonies. So there's all these, and in Cornwall, they have some wonderful choirs and there's lots of singing. So that was programmed into me. So I was singing. Then I was calling people I hadn't talked to for years and telling them lovely things. And all I did was just kind of just push out kind of lovely energy. I had a great time. And the combination of what put me into that lonely situation, well, that didn't work at all. So, I just thought, well, you can't put you can't put me in the corner at Christmas because I'm going to kind of like radio out. And the thing is, on this gifts, some people, when they're older, they say gifts are not important. But I'm going to just kind of put my hand up and say, hello, everybody. I think they are, because everybody's got an inner child inside of them. And, you know, it's so lovely when somebody thinks of you and they maybe give you a little flower or a little box of something or whatever nonsense you can find for somebody. But when you have people come forward that have actually put some thought for you, no matter whether you're 2 years old or 120, you will see that face light up. So that's what I like to do. I like to see, you know, through giving, that the face will light up through deeds of kindness. And you know what? Another thing, I just have to have a little rant for about 30 seconds. Why do people keep nice thoughts in their head? Because there's so many people that think really wonderful things, but they never actually say it. So that's one of my things. When I think something lovely, I just blurt it out and say it. So at Christmas, you could give the gift of compassion, of joy and peace, and open your heart to yourself and others.
I love that. An open heart, I think, is really the key.
I have a question, ladies. Do you also have a mistletoe over the entrance? And do you have still this tradition of kissing a Christmas kiss on under the mistletoe? Is it still a tradition?
We do in the UK, very much so.
We do in the USA, but sadly, it's always me there. It's just me, like, oh, no one's a kiss. How about there? Do you have it in Mallorca?
No, unfortunately not. But we had it in Austria, but here in Mallorca, not now.
Well, I've got some solutions here. You know, as a designer, I could see kind of you getting a pole to put the mistletoe on with a little hanger on the top, belt it to yourself, and go walking out in the mall, and then you're transporting the mistletoe. Or you could just wear a T-shirt saying "Kiss me now," right?
After you have an interview, after we see your medical results, and we interview you first.
Well, I think the thing is about mistletoe that people might not know, but in the UK we are so fortunate because in the summer, and actually in the winter time, well, in the summer, the mistletoe is actually grows on other trees. But as in the autumn time, like now, the leaves are coming off, you can see the great big mistletoe bushes growing between the trees. It's absolutely beautiful. Because what I know as a country girl, a lot of people don't realize where stuff comes from or how it gets there or how it's grown. Mistletoe, especially with the little red ribbon tied up.
Yeah.
But I had an uncle who was really quite cheeky, and he used to pull down the mistletoe. So he used to go take it down to the pub, and then he used to walk around, and he used to go around there, and it was like transporting the mistletoe with him. Yeah, he did very well.
At a pub, I guess you'd do really well. Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, he was very handsome as well, so that maybe had something to do with it too.
I didn't know that about mistletoe. So I know that the tradition, but I didn't know about the actual. Is it a plant or what are they, leaves?
No, it's like a fungus actually. But it actually attaches itself on a tree and it grows, and it's quite fascinating because as you're driving, especially as the twilight is there and the sunset's going down, you can see the big tree with the big balls of mistletoe. And I remember saying to my people that I'm with a lot, I would say, "Look, do you see the mistletoe?" And they say, "Isn't that a bird's nest?" I go, "No, that would be a really big bird's nest. That's mistletoe." And they go, "Really? Wow!" And it's just like. Yeah, so I don't know actually how they'd have to get a big ladder to cut it out so they can sell it, I guess. But anyway, there's some way to earn some money.
Exactly. There's a job for 1, 2, 3, 10 people. Who knew?
Exactly.
Yeah, but the mistletoe has a nice story. Do you know it from where it comes from? It's very old.
Oh, please
tell us.
Pray tell.
The thing was that in the Norwegian tradition, the godness Baldur, the son of the god, the one godness Odin, he was supposed to die an accident, and his mom Frigg, she asked everyone to help her son to come back to life, but what she didn't see was the mistletoe. And so one of the Jews brought the mistletoe. The mistletoe was in the old tradition always a very important plant because it was blossoming in winter. It was a very good, a very good treatment for people who couldn't get babies. And so she said, okay, let's try the mistletoe. So she healed Baldur with this plant, with the mistletoe, and therefore his mom Frigg, the name was Frigg, was cultivating mistletoes on trees, and said everyone who is passing by, she will give a kiss, and therefore this tradition comes. Yeah, so she was so happy that her son was alive again, and for her it was a symbol for life and for love. And this is where it comes from, kissing on a mistletoe, because she promised that she will kiss everyone passing by this mistletoe who saved her son's life. That's the tradition.
Oh. Wow, that's cool. I never heard of that.
Yeah,
we learn so much on this show, don't we? Week after week.
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely.
And it's important. And I would love people to interact with us as well, tell us about their holiday traditions.
But do you know, we spoke about little different traditions, we spoke about gifts, but do you know that in all of our countries, there are different traditions how the kids get a gift? Because in my home country, in Austria, there's we call the Christkind, the Christ child. That I guess in the US you have the Santa Claus, no? Who brings the gifts? In the US?
Santa Claus, yeah.
Here in Spain,
Santa
for example.
Claus.
Okay, here in Spain, where I live now, the kids get the presents, because in my home country, in Austria, the kids get the present on the 24th, so the day before the 25th, before the celebration, on the day before. And here in Spain, the kids get the presents on the 6th of January, and by the Three Kings. So there's no Christ child or Santa Claus tradition in Spain. So the kids here get their gifts on the 6th of January by the Three Kings. So there's a very nice tradition. So here in the small villages here, the parents bring all the gifts to the major house. They save it there. And on the 6th of January, the whole village comes together. And then the Three Kings give the gifts in front of all other kids, the presents. A very nice tradition here in Spain.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
So we could I could fly to New York, have Christmas there, get back in time to have Christmas in London, fly over to Spain in time for the 6th. I could do very well this year if I've got my COVID thing sorted.
That sounds like it'd be a lovely way to spend it for sure. Well, we have to wrap up our show as we have another show right after this, The Wise Ones. So I have put your contact information into the comments. So anybody who wants to reach out to Daphne or to Roland, you can reach them by checking out the comments. But Daphne, who would you like to contact you?
Well, people out there who actually want to get their name out into the world. If they're doing something great, they want the world to know about it, whether they're an author, an actor, actress, business person, entrepreneur, TV personality, whoever you are, and you want to rebrand yourself, refresh, raise your profile, get content made, and actually grow into the fantastic person you are, that's the kind of person that I can help greatly. So you can find me at my name, Google me, Daphne Diluce. Daphne at daphnedeluce.com is my email, and it'd be delightful to hear from you.
Thank you, Daphne. Always a pleasure seeing you. And Roland, who would you like to contact you, and how should they reach out to you?
Well, we're looking forward to getting in contact with business leaders who are committed to go on the next level by our what we call radical, progressive, and holistic approach to bring their organization, their leadership, and their team members on the next level. And they can contact us. The easiest way is to go on our website, which is in English and German. The website is spartner-performance.com. I spell it SPARRTNER minus, but Jacalyn, you know what it is in the US. Performance, PERFORMANCE.com.
Thank you, Roland. And here in the States, we call it a dash. Dash is the same thing as a minus. So do reach out to them. I'm very excited because yesterday I was able to make 2 connections for people who watched our show and were interested in getting in touch with the different co-hosts. So that's always really exciting. So, all right, everybody, we have to say goodbye. We'll be back next week. What holiday are we going to do next week?
I don't know.
Go ahead, Roland.
Yeah,
New Year's Day?
Yeah, New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. All right. Daphne, you like it?
New Year's Day. I like
or New Year's Eve.
Day, yeah, New Year's Eve. Oh, yes, there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah. New Year's Eve first.
All right, let's do New Year's Eve. All right, bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.